talk about the transition from leaving college basketball and moving into the
Lexie Hull's career was in ruins before to Caitlyn Clark's arrival. A shocking new interview reveals how Clark's leadership transformed the Indiana Fever and saved Hull. You won't want to miss this story about what really happened behind the scenes, from stunning comebacks to devastating lows. To learn more, stay tuned.
So you have basketball in your genes. Your grandfather played basketball, your dad, and you have a twin sister who you played basketball with growing up. What was it like growing up in that family dynamic?
Well, we have a super competitive family, and having my dad play basketball collegiately, knew that basketball was going to be put in my hands at an early age, but my parents were, super excited about having us try every sport imaginable. So
Lexie Hull's basketball career as a professional. With the potential to be an important part of the Indiana Fever, she was selected 6th overall in the 2025 WNBA draft, but her career quickly changed from one of great expectations to one of relevance.
It happened really, really quick. We finished up the Final Four, and then a week later the draft happens, and then a few days after that, packing up my dorm room and moving to the Midwest. So it was a big transition, especially moving someplace that
Poor play and insufficient playing time soon overshadowed that promise. As Hull's playing time declined and fans started to question if she would ever realize her full potential, she was in risk of going overlooked before the start of the 2025 season.
The basketball part of the transition is really tough. Everybody out on the court was one of the best players on their college teams, definitely the best player.
At Stanford, she was well known for her basketball intelligence, athleticism, and perseverance. She seemed destined for professional glory and assisted her team in winning a national championship, but the WNBA had more intense competition and larger stakes. Hull found it difficult to keep up with all of the players on the floor who were the best in their different programs. It was far harder for her to make the switch from college to the WNBA than she had thought. In a recent interview, Hull admitted that it is mentally taxing to go from being an important player in college to sitting on the bench and seeing others steal the minutes you have fought so hard to earn. Hull was in danger of being labeled a bust by the start of the 2025 season. The team wasn't in a better situation, and her confidence was damaged. They had a terrible 1-8 record at the beginning of the season. There was tension in the dressing room. The environment was anything but optimistic, and criticism of the coaching staff was widespread. When Caitlyn Clark arrived, both the players and the audience were becoming impatient.
I've seen so much growth, not only on the team side, how we're performing on the court, but also the growth in fans. On the road, it felt like home games. We're playing in sold-out arenas
A college basketball sensation and one of the most eagerly awaited rookies in recent memory. From the moment Clark joined the club, her fierce competition and captivating PL style gave the Fever a much-needed boost. Everything began to shift. She was more than a mere participant.
To be on the court with Caitlyn Clark, and you also struck up a friendship with her. Can you talk about how important it is to have that camaraderie on and off the court?
I think it was important to get to know her off the court, because I do think that, connections, getting to know people really play a part in the success of teams. And it's really awesome to get to know her as well, because, she's a great person, but you have all these expectations put on her, and our team has put on her, and fans have put on her. So to see her kind of be so mature in that transition, it's been really awesome. And I'm just really proud to, have.
The redemption arc that started with Clark's arrival was eagerly awaited by the entire group. Hull had been struggling to find her position in the Fever system and how to contribute successfully, but Clark's presence drastically altered that dynamic. Opportunities that didn't previously exist were made possible by her ability to anticipate plays and make accurate passes. Suddenly, Hull found herself in open areas, getting passes she didn't think were possible and being set up for success. Although it didn't happen right away, the shift was evident. Everything was altered by Caitlyn. Her energy, vision, and ability to improve everyone around her were contagious, Hull remarked. She restored my self-confidence. Clark's fierce competitiveness encouraged everyone to step up their game during practices. Knowing that every opportunity mattered with Clark on the floor, Hull began focusing on improving her cutting and shooting abilities. With a newfound feeling of purpose, she started to devote herself fully to the task, certain that her time would come. What truly helped, in my opinion, was Caitlyn's encouragement. Hull made it clear that she genuinely wanted us all to succeed and wasn't just focused on her own success. She would promise me that I would get the following shot if I missed the first one. This kind of assistance has a significant impact. Beyond the court, Clark's leadership was demonstrated in the locker room, where she was able to revive the team's morale and foster a sense of cohesion that had been sorely absent. Hull described how Clark's wisdom and optimism created an environment where players felt encouraged in spite of challenges. It wasn't just about basketball. Caitlyn made an effort to get to know us as individuals, and that connection led to improved chemistry on the court, Hull stated. When one player took the initiative, it was like a domino effect, inspiring others to follow suit. As the Fever's offense began to shift, Clark was able to reinvent herself as a player. She started to have a discernible influence in games, her confidence grew, and her shooting percentages improved. Fans who had earlier doubted her began to take notice of her return. However, there were challenges along the way. Hull said that the pressure to perform and the expectations of the WNBA might be too much for her, and that social media in particular became a double-edged sword with both praise and criticism flooding her feeds following every game. It's hard not to read the comments. The Indiana Fever began to improve as the season progressed. Hull flourished in her position and shown that she belonged in the WNBA, becoming an important contributor. In the meantime, Clark's popularity kept growing, attracting spectators to games and generating enthusiasm for the team. The 2025 season was a nightmare for Hull, but it was also a tale of redemption. She credits Clark's leadership and the change in team culture for a large portion of her recovery. However, it went beyond what Clark had done for Hull. It was about how she altered the course of the Indiana Fever as a whole. This season taught me a lot about resilience. More crucial than skill alone, according to Hull, are being ready, having confidence in the process, and depending on your teammates. I am grateful for everything Caitlyn has done for our team during the season, not just for me but for all of us. Everyone in the Fever organization, including the supporters, became more aware of Clark's arrival. The team's energy shifted, practices became more competitive, and games were more cohesive. Clark's chemistry wasn't only infectious. For Lexie Hull, it was life-changing. And her comeback tale was built on this transformation. Because of Caitlyn's precise passing and ability to see opportunities that no one else could, Hull's early season struggles seemed like a faraway past. Every game put Lexie in unfamiliar circumstances, such being wide open for a shot or penetrating the defense to make a play. Hull's self-assurance grew, and she described the shift as a complete 180 for both her performance and her attitude. Hull remarked, "I'd been working hard all along. However, nothing seemed to be clicking. Caitlyn taught me to trust my instincts once more and given me the confidence to take those risks." Just as significant as Clark's skill on the court was her capacity to inspire everyone around her with her basketball IQ, court vision, and unshakable resolve. Drive made it possible to highlight her teammates. Hull told Caitlyn that she sees things before they happen and that each cut serves a purpose. Because of the way Clark would throw passes in seemingly impossible circumstances, I've had passes come to me where the player felt like she was always a threat on the court. I had not even realized that I was open. However, Hull was able to regain her rhythm thanks to this new dynamic. For a player who had previously questioned her place in the league, by the middle of the season, her shooting percentages had greatly improved, and she was a reliable contributor in critical moments. Social media erupted in praise for Hull's restored energy and self-assurance as fans began to take note. But the numbers weren't the only thing that changed. Hull emphasized the depth of Clark's leadership. Caitlyn became the team's emotional pillar in addition to her great plays and assists. She is always ready to help her colleagues when they need it. Clark's influence was clear, whether it was by pushing them harder during practice or offering encouragement following a missed shot. She is the kind of teammate who never lets you give up. Hull believed she was making a big difference for the first time in her professional career. She promised to tell me to move on if I made a mistake. This is something you can do. It may seem insignificant, yet it has a significant impact. Hull's influence on the team expanded along with her confidence. She was now a vital component of the Fever's rotation rather than merely a bench player battling for minutes. Her cutting, shooting, and defensive prowess gave the team's play a fresh perspective. Not only did Clark affect Hull, but the entire Fever lineup appeared to benefit from her presence. Mitchell, Leah Kelsey, Boston and the rest of the team began to play with renewed enthusiasm as a result of Clark's drive and competitiveness, and practices turned into arguments as players pushed one another to improve. Even the scrimmages felt like high-stakes competitions, according to Hull, since Caitlyn set the tone for all of us. She made it clear that we wanted to win, not simply compete, according to Hull. The squad, which had previously struggled with low attendance and conflicting support, began to draw larger audiences as a result of this cultural change. Ticket sales surged as the arena's energy turned electrifying. Hull described how playing in front of a full house gave the team an extra boost during games, but it's hard to put into words how much it means to have that kind of support. Having your supporters behind you inspires you to play even harder, Hull continued. There was more to the Fever's comeback than just wins and losses. It required changing the team's narrative from one of disappointment and annoyance to one of hope and Hull's promise. This shift felt quite intimate. She went from having doubts about her league future to playing a significant role on a rising club. Without Caitlyn Hull, who admitted that she did more than simply preserve my career, I don't think I could have survived. She reminded me of the reasons I adore this game. WNBA fans were astounded by how effectively the two players seemed to complement one another, with Hull's perseverance earning Clark's confidence and Clark's death unleashing Hull's potential. One of the league's most talked about relationships was theirs. The two eventually came to symbolize the Fever's new identity. The squad, which was built on resiliency, unity, and a commitment to excellence, gained momentum as the season progressed and moved from the league's basement to playoff contention, exceeding expectations and proving that their early misfortunes were not a representation of their true ability. Hull described the trip as both challenging and gratifying, emphasizing the team's development over the course of the season and stating that our ability to support one another during trying times was what made the difference off the court. As they took the time to get to know one another and form a long-lasting friendship, Hull and Clark's bond grew deeper. It's easy to get caught up in the pressure of the game, but having someone like Caitlyn by your side makes it easier to handle the Fever, Hull stated. Beyond basketball, Hull said that this relationship kept her focused and grounded during the season's highs and lows. Redeeming oneself wasn't the only theme of the season. With a youthful core headed by Boston and Clark Hull, it was about setting the stage for future success. As the season moved forward, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a comeback story for Lexie Hull, it was the beginning of a brand new chapter for the entire Indiana Fever organization. What started as a difficult transition from college basketball to the professional stage slowly transformed into a journey of resilience, growth, and belief. For Hull, the early struggles that once felt overwhelming eventually became valuable lessons about patience, preparation, and trusting the process. The WNBA is one of the most competitive leagues in the world, and every player who steps on that court has already proven themselves at the highest level in college. Learning how to adjust, how to stay mentally strong, and how to keep working even when the minutes aren't there is part of the challenge every young player faces. Lexie Hull experienced those challenges firsthand, but instead of letting them define her career, she used them as motivation to keep improving. The arrival of Caitlyn Clark helped spark that transformation, not just through her incredible talent, but through the confidence and energy she brought to the team. Basketball has always been a team game, and sometimes all it takes is the right chemistry and leadership to unlock a player's true potential. Hull's story reminds fans that success rarely comes instantly at the professional level. Behind every breakout performance are countless hours of practice, frustration, self-doubt, and determination to keep going. As the Fever began finding their rhythm, the team started building something bigger than individual success. The locker room culture shifted toward belief, accountability, and support, creating an environment where players could grow together. For fans watching from the outside, it became exciting to see how quickly momentum could change when a team starts believing in itself. The arena energy, the growing crowds, and the rising expectations all pointed toward a brighter future for the franchise. Hull's journey from uncertainty to confidence perfectly reflected that shift. Instead of being remembered for early struggles, she became an example of perseverance and teamwork. And as this young core continues to develop, the foundation being built now could shape the team for years to come. Of course, the journey is far from over. Professional sports are full of ups and downs, and every new season brings new challenges. But if this story proves anything, it's that resilience, strong leadership, and trust between teammates can completely change the direction of a team. For Lexie Hull and the Indiana Fever, what once looked like a difficult beginning may ultimately become the starting point of something truly special. And if this season has shown us anything, it's that sometimes the best stories in sports are the ones that begin with struggle and end with belief. So as the Fever continue writing their next chapter, fans everywhere will be watching closely to see just how far this rising team can go.